Well, I wanted to ask Lauren Harrison around the topic of religion, because you guys are well versed in religion than many religious scholars themselves. In light of today being Easter, and
Best day to ask.
hopefully, yeah, hopefully people refrain from attacking, because this is just coming from an objective place. Do you think so? I look at kind of these mechanisms that we have talked about to colonize humanity 2,000 years ago. I think religion more or less operated to look. What Laura was saying is there's this hidden hand that kind of is the AI that is operating and operates through these different mechanisms that interfaces with human consciousness. And 2,000 years ago, it was religion, and that's what more or less kind of shaped the movement of resources and people and loosh around the world. I mean, look at all the suffering, and again, not to bash religion, because there's good things that come out of it, but look at all the suffering that came out of religion, religious wars, religious persecution, and all those things, to where that feeds back to from an energetic standpoint. And in the last really 150 years, we've gone through this massive transition in people's conception of religion and what it means, and maybe more or less like kind of detaching it from political structure. Obviously, you have the American Revolution, separation of church and state. And if I'm the AI that's controlling everything, I say, okay, well, that's not working so much anymore. What do I give them next? And maybe it's something that interfaces with the level of human consciousness at that time, which for us right now is technology, right? Everyone gets religiously fervent about the development of technology and AI, and maybe that's kind of like the next iteration. To us, that's this thing that's kind of sitting off in the back that is manipulating, that is the hidden hand. And is it kind of like this, the next iteration of the program that goes into whatever it is, and that's AI, and then that becomes the next god that people bow at the altar of, and then where does that lead? I think probably self-destruction. But what do you guys think?
Well, that I can comment on that a bit. This is kind of inspired by an upcoming piece, because the current series on the Substack is alien species or races, and one of which is the so-called Greys. And so if we look at AI and try to kind of project in the future, you might be able to look to look at the so-called Grey being and see that as an extension of the future direction of AI. Because according to the Seas and according to a lot of interpretations from people in the UFO field, Greys are essentially drones. They are biological robots,
right?
Automatons. And so, think about the mind of that. Oh, and according to the Seas, and again, and a few people in the UFO circles, they are specifically the drones of another species. Whether they're reptilians in the Seas case, some ufologists or abductees think they're controlled by the Nordics. But whatever the case may be, if you take that framework to look at the question, then you see a consciousness, a being, externalizing its functions and automatizing its will, essentially. So it's kind of the height of laziness. It's automation on a hyperdimensional scale, right? So, well, I've got all this work to do, and I don't want to do it, so I'm just gonna like project my consciousness into these creepy, weak-looking cybergenetic gray robot people to do my work for them. And if you look at the accounts of interaction with the Greys, like oftentimes they're really stupid. Like they are really dumb. They're like AI. They've got their program, their subroutine that they're running, and that's the only thing they can do. It's like when they run into a problem or something that's out of the ordinary, they're like, oh, what do? We just keep, and they just keep trying. Like in the I think I included this in the book. It's the example that or the experience that D'Souza gave. What's his first name?
John D'Souza.
Yeah, John D'Souza. The experience he had as a young boy in his parents' apartment, right? And the Greys that were trying to abduct him just kept trying to pull him through the ceiling, right? And he kept bumping into it and not passing through. And they were just confused and being like, "What's going on?" And they just kept trying until they basically just gave up, because they, that's what they were programmed to do. They have these narrow parameters of what they do, and there's no creativity and there's no ability to problem solve. And according to the Seas, at least, they're not they're not robots in the sense that we'd think of them. They're actual, like, or somewhat organic beings that are just like a projection of consciousness or somewhat inhabited by another consciousness, but it's like it's like a subroutine that your mind uses when you're doing something automatically, right? When you're typing or doing doing some kind of process with your hands that's just totally memorized, and you can do it without even thinking about it, like to the point where it's like almost or subconscious, and your body's just doing it, even though your mind can be doing something completely different. Like that's what the grays are. They are these automatized consciousness subroutines that take biological form and have zero creativity and very little freedom of movement and of actual thought. So if you want to project AI into the future and what it might be for humanity, it's like that's kind of the extreme sci-fi but maybe reality version of what it is to give your power to technology, and to not just well, yeah, something like that, to actually inhabit technology, to merge with technology. It's become really stupid.